Can you imagine a world where altering your appearance could change your destiny? What if this transformation was part of a controversial rehabilitation program inside the US prisons? Welcome to the history of plastic surgery used within US prisons, a topic both fascinating and fraught with ethical questions. From the 1920s to the 1990s, over 500,000 inmates underwent cosmetic surgery to improve their post-release employment prospects. Was this a genuine attempt at rehabilitation or a deeply flawed exercise in control? Subscribe now to dive into this incredible story with us. From the 1920s to the 1990s, a staggering 500,000 inmates in American prisons underwent cosmetic surgery as part of a unique rehabilitation initiative. The underlying idea was that enhancing inmates' physical appearance could boost their employment prospects upon release. However, the effectiveness of this approach prompts us to examine the deeper implications of appearance bias in society. Back in 1932, the flamboyant American plastic surgeon John Crum orchestrated an elaborate event to showcase his belief that altering one's facial features could transform one's personality. In a scene reminiscent of a grand theater production, John hosted this spectacle in a lavish New York City hotel. The atmosphere was ecstatic as a string quartet filled the room with music and spotlights focused on him. Then, a woman named Alice stepped into the spotlight. To the audience's astonishment, Dr. Crum revealed that Alice was a middle-aged woman who had recently been released after 2 decades in prison for the murder of her husband. Dr. Crum pointed out the deep lines of aging and hardship on Alice's face, attributing them to her time in prison. He proposed rejuvenating her appearance to aid her re-entry into the beauty sector, where she had previously worked before her crimes. Administering anesthetics, he performed a facelift over the next 2 hours, while some spectators were so overwhelmed that they fainted or had to leave. After the procedure, Alice's face was still swollen and bandaged, but noticeably smoother. Dr. Crum presented her to the audience, proclaiming, "Meet Alice, this is the new, improved version. Now she can go get a job. She can succeed." Dr. Crum was not alone in his belief in the transformative potential of cosmetic surgery for prisoners. From the 1920s to the 1990s, around 500,000 US prisoners received state-approved plastic surgeries, influenced by factors such as overcrowded prisons, high recidivism rates, and racial biases. In the early 20th century, before the World Wars, plastic surgery was viewed with skepticism. Surgeons in this field were often marginalized and weren't even allowed to join the American Medical Association, reflecting a broader stigma that doctors could not cater to human vanity. However, the perceived benefits of surgery were hard to ignore. By 1910, New York's prison commissioner, Henry Solomon, was advocating for complementary plastic surgery for inmates, linking physical defects to criminal behavior. Solomon suggested that for some, it was easier to commit a crime than to earn money honestly due to their physical appearance. In the early 20th century, US prisons faced challenges with high rates of repeat offenders. During this period, healthcare, including cosmetic surgery, began to be viewed as a form of rehabilitation. For instance, since the 1930s, inmates inside one of New York's maximum security prisons have been offered plastic surgery as part of their medical care. This approach wasn't solely about reducing recidivism, it also intersected with the era's eugenics philosophies, which stated that physical appearance could influence criminal behavior. Eugenicists of the time made dubious claims, associating physical traits with criminal tendencies, such as the belief that a pointed chin indicated a propensity of theft or closed-set eyes were a sign of a rapist. These unfounded theories reflected broader societal biases, particularly those that idolized Western beauty standards and white skin, intertwining them with economic, political, and social privileges. Among the most common cosmetic procedures in prisons were rhinoplasties to straighten and slim noses, chin implants to enhance profiles, scar removals, and facelifts, all aimed at promoting signs of vitality and adhering to Eurocentric beauty standards. In 1953, New York plastic surgeon Michael Lewin received a letter from William Rassi, a 23-year-old former patient who had abandoned his final surgery for a cleft palate and was now incarcerated in a New York prison. Having been ridiculed for his appearance throughout his life, William sought Lewin's assistance, prompting the surgeon to offer his services pro bono. Over the following 2 years, Lewin regularly visited William and operated on him within prison walls. During these visits, he observed many inmates with facial injuries and deformities, leading him to conclude that their physical appearances were adversely impacting their lives. Motivated by these observations, Lewin secured government funding to expand his efforts. Soon, he and his team were frequently within prison walls, performing facelifts, scar and tattoo removals, and rhinoplasty. This initiative became a regular part of the prison's rehabilitation program, reflecting an ongoing effort to address the psychosocial impacts of physical appearances among inmates. In the 1960s, a study at Rikers Island was conducted to explore how cosmetic surgery could affect the lives of inmates after their release. About 1,400 inmates applied to be part of this study, but only a small group completed it, including a follow-up 12 months later. The findings generally showed a decrease in recidivism rates, highlighting surgery as beneficial but not a singular solution to rehabilitation. Moreover, it is clear that the majority of incarcerated individuals come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, affected by factors like classism and racism, and tend to suffer more facial injuries and scarring compared to the general population. Despite these programs being implemented in about 44 states and several federal prisons, they were discontinued for various reasons. One of these key reasons was a shift in political attitudes towards using such surgeries as a tool for rehabilitation. Additionally, public opposition played a crucial role. Although these programs were not explicitly concealed, they were not widely publicized either. Public discontent escalated in 1989 when journalist Stephen Long highlighted how substantial amounts of money were spent on cosmetic procedures for inmates, such as a facelift for a long-term sex offender and an eye lift for a convicted murderer. This sparked widespread outrage, with critics appearing on talk shows to express disbelief that their taxes were funding what they saw as luxury and vanity procedures for individuals they felt had wronged society. Many believe that true rehabilitation should focus on personalized psychological and physical assessments tailored to each individual's needs rather than imposing cosmetic solutions. And with that, we will end today's video. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing.